The sky cracked open, not with the rumbling thunder of a storm, but with a force that shattered the very air itself. Earth's last defense systems, built over decades of vigilance, hummed to life, trembling under the weight of an incoming threat. The satellites detected at first an enormous alien fleet, silently gliding through the vacuum of space. It was too late for humanity to escape, too late for anything other than the relentless march of destiny. Humanity had always feared the day the stars would turn their gaze upon Earth. The first warning had come not from the skies, but from an alien who had lived among them, an outcast, a deserter. Yet no one had listened. General Sophia Carter stood at the command center of the Earth's unified military alliance, her hand gripping the edge of the control panel. The room buzzed with activity, voices overlapping in a cacophony of urgency, but she barely heard them. Her mind was consumed by the alien message that had come days before, a warning that most had dismissed as the desperate ramblings of a defector. The message had been clear: do not attack the humans. They will hunt you forever. The warning had been met with skepticism. The voice behind it belonged to an alien who had defected from the invaders' fleet, someone who claimed to know their ways. His name was Calrex, and he had once been an officer in the conquering force. His story was strange, filled with talk of ancient interstellar warlords and advanced civilizations brought to ruin by the same species now targeting Earth. He had warned them of what was coming, how the alien invaders viewed war as a hunt, where the thrill of the chase was as valuable as victory itself. But Earth's leadership had made their decision. The invaders would be met with force. After all, Earth's technologies had advanced far beyond what anyone could have expected. They had built fleets, powerful enough to protect their home, and they had confidence. Too much confidence. General Carter had argued against this blind optimism, but her warnings were ignored. The Allies had dismissed Calrex as nothing more than a coward, too afraid to face his people. The decision to engage the alien forces head-on had been made, and now, with Earth's skies ablaze with incoming fire, that decision felt foolish. The battle began not in the stars, but in the very atmosphere of Earth. As the alien ships broke through the upper layers of the atmosphere, they did not fire immediately. No, they hovered, waiting. It was as if they were studying Earth, measuring the resolve of its people, assessing the threat level. A tactical strike was launched from the Earth's defense fleet, and for a brief moment, the humans believed they had the upper hand. Earth's ships were smaller but more maneuverable, designed to strike with speed and precision. But as the first salvo of missiles launched, the alien ships activated shields that shimmered with unnatural energy, absorbing the blasts without even a tremor. They didn't retaliate immediately. Instead, they simply swarmed. Thousands of ships descended upon Earth in a pattern too coordinated to be a mere attack. It was as if they were herding prey. Carter's heart raced. She issued orders, her voice steady despite the rising panic inside her. Reinforce all cities. Mobilize the reserves. They're here. But she knew, deep down, that this was no ordinary invasion. The aliens had not come for resources, as humanity had assumed. They had not come for domination. They had come for something else, something darker. And now they were testing their prey. The skies turned red as more alien ships arrived, blanketing Earth's atmosphere in a suffocating veil of doom. The first wave of human defenses had failed. But something had changed in the invaders' behavior. They hadn't annihilated humanity immediately. They hadn't unleashed the full force of their weaponry, even though they could have done so with a thought. The aliens had made a choice. They were playing a game, and Earth had just become their hunting ground. In the midst of the chaos, General Carter saw something on her screen, something that had slipped through the cracks of the invading forces' strategy. It was a signal, weak, almost imperceptible, but it was there. A message from Calrex, the defector. A last desperate attempt to warn humanity before it was too late. She opened the transmission, her breath caught in her throat as the words flickered across the screen. You do not understand. They do not conquer. They hunt. Before she could process the full meaning, the first strike hit Earth's capital. The invaders' weapons, seemingly limitless, rained down, and Carter's worst fears were realized. The Earth had become the prey, and the hunt had begun. The human military had been blind. They thought themselves ready for any invasion. They had prepared for years, built fleets, trained soldiers, honed their strategies. But when the aliens descended, it wasn't with the brute force expected of an empire seeking conquest. It was a hunt, and humanity was the prey, the true nature of the enemy. General Sophia Carter paced across the dimly lit command center. Her eyes scanned the holographic map, but the numbers no longer made sense. Earth's defenses were supposed to hold. The alien fleet was vast, but not insurmountable. Yet, in less than a day, everything had changed. The invaders had arrived with terrifying precision. They hadn't come for Earth's resources or its strategic locations. They didn't care about territory or domination. Instead, they had methodically torn through human defenses, one city at a time, almost as if savoring the process. Cities were reduced to rubble in seconds. Entire populations wiped out without a hint of remorse. It wasn't warfare, it was sport. They don't fight to win, Carter muttered to herself, a bitter realization creeping into her mind. They fight for the thrill. An urgent transmission buzzed through the command center speakers. Carter's eyes narrowed as the message appeared on her screen, its sender clear. Colrex, the alien defector, had sent another transmission. His warnings had been dismissed the first time, but now, she had no choice but to listen. General Carter, you are in grave danger. They are not conquerors. They are hunters. They prey on species for the challenge, for the pleasure of the hunt. They are skilled and they are patient. When they choose to strike, they will not stop. You are their quarry now. They will track you to the ends of the galaxy if need be, and they will hunt you forever. The message left Carter stunned. She had thought the alien's previous warning was born of fear, an attempt to justify his own defection. But now, with Earth in ruins and the alien forces growing bolder with each passing hour, she understood. Earth was no longer a planet to be invaded. It was a game, and they were the prey. Carter slammed her fist against the table, frustration boiling over. How could we have missed this? She whispered. The message from Colrex confirmed what she feared but had been too unwilling to admit. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival. They were fighting to stay alive long enough to escape the hunt. The alien invaders didn't just have technology beyond human comprehension. They had tactics rooted in something far more terrifying, the mindset of predators. These aliens didn't need to conquer Earth. They had no desire to rule it. Their sole purpose was to challenge themselves, to engage in a fight that tested their skill, their cunning, and their will to dominate. Earth had been chosen as their battleground. A low hum echoed through the command center as a new report came in. Earth's remaining defense fleets were being systematically destroyed, their forces scattered across the planet. The aliens didn't care to engage in all-out war. They picked off targets one by one, wearing down humanity's resolve with every strike. They attacked with precision, never overwhelming their prey too soon, always leaving enough room for hope to linger, before crushing it. Carter's mind raced through the countless historical accounts of predators. Wolves circling their prey, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Cats toying with their catches before the kill. It was the same thing, played out across galaxies. The only difference was the stakes were now unimaginable. Humanity can't keep running, Carter said quietly. We need to learn how to fight back, how to hunt. The realization hit her hard. Humanity had always thought of war as a straightforward contest, a matter of strategy, technology, and brute force. But this was different. The aliens weren't interested in conventional war. They wanted to test their mettle, push their limits. And in doing so, they had begun to systematically dismantle Earth's confidence. With a sudden flash of insight, Carter stood up. We have to learn to be the hunters, not the hunted. She turned to her officers, who had been listening in silence. Prepare the remaining forces. We'll need to do more than fight back. We need to become unpredictable. We need to make them chase us. A senior officer spoke up, his voice tinged with disbelief. "General, you're suggesting we fight them on their terms? We're outgunned and outnumbered. How can we possibly?" Carter cut him off. "We'll use what they've underestimated. Us. Our tenacity. Our unpredictability. If they want a challenge, we'll give it to them. But on our terms." The officers exchanged uneasy glances, but Carter could see a spark of hope flicker in their eyes. It was a dangerous plan, a desperate one, but it was their only option. The hunt had begun. But if invaders thought Earth would be easy prey, they had no idea what kind of predators they were up against. It wasn't the first time someone had tried to warn humanity. It wasn't even the second. But as Earth's cities burned and the invaders' forces advanced relentlessly, the truth was undeniable. Humanity had ignored every warning. And now the cost was unimaginable. The message that wasn't heeded. General Sophia Carter stood before the shattered remains of Earth's war room, staring at the decrypted files scattered across her screen. In the wake of the invasion, intelligence officers had uncovered ancient records, warning after warning from civilizations long since destroyed. All of them had fallen to the same species, now laying waste to Earth. Humanity had dismissed the warnings from Colrex, the defected alien. But these new messages, hidden deep within archives, painted a far darker picture. These weren't just the ravings of one outcast. They were the final cries of entire species, who had learned the hard way what it meant to face the invaders. And the warnings were eerily consistent. Don't engage them. Do not provoke them. They will hunt you forever. Carter couldn't ignore the weight of the truth. Every warning came from a civilization on the brink of annihilation, survivors who'd seen what happened when the invaders showed up. The message was always the same. Once they decided to hunt, there was no escape. The invaders would chase their prey across the stars until there was no more fight left to give. "General," one of her officers called, pulling her from her thoughts. "We've located another transmission from Colrex. It's urgent." Carter nodded and swiftly turned to the screen. Another message, one that echoed all the previous warnings. But this time it was different. It was more than a warning. It was a confession. The voice on the other end was strained, almost pleading. "I should have told you sooner." Colrex's distorted voice came through, the words harsh with regret. "The invaders are not after territory. They are not after resources. They are after the thrill of the hunt. If they've chosen Earth as their game, there is no retreat. They will never stop. They are patient, they are relentless, and they will enjoy every second of it." Carter felt a chill run down her spine. How could humanity have been so blind? The alien race was not an empire seeking conquest, nor a species driven by the need for power. They were predators, merciless and calculating. The message continued, and this time, Colrex's tone shifted. "I thought I could stop them," he said. "I thought if I defected, if I warned you, I could prevent the destruction. But now I realize there is no stopping them. There's only surviving. And to survive, you must learn their ways. You must understand the hunt." Carter glanced around at the officers in the room. They were listening in stunned silence, the weight of Colrex's words sinking in. The realization was clear. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting to stay alive long enough to learn how to fight back. And the first lesson? The invaders were not conquerors. They were hunters. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the room heavy with silence. Carter closed her eyes for a moment, letting the gravity of Colrex's final words settle in. She had believed humanity could simply outfight the invaders. But now she saw the truth. They weren't just outgunned. They were outmatched in ways they couldn't yet comprehend. "We need to stop thinking of this as a war," Carter said, her voice firm. "This is a hunt. And right now we're the prey." She turned back to the officers, who had slowly begun to digest what had been revealed. It's not just about winning. It's about surviving long enough to turn the tables. We need to understand them. We need to learn how they think, how they strike, and most importantly, how they hunt. Only then will we have a chance. One officer spoke up, his voice hesitant. "But General, we've already seen their tactics. They're too fast, too overwhelming. How do we outsmart something like that? Carter's gaze hardened as she met his eyes. We make them underestimate us. They see us as weak, as nothing more than a stepping stone. We make them think they have us cornered. And then, when they least expect it, we strike. The room was quiet for a moment, as the officers exchanged uncertain glances. But Carter could see the spark of determination beginning to take root. It wouldn't be easy. It might not even be possible. But humanity had no other choice but to fight, this time on their terms. We'll find a way, Carter said, her voice cutting through the silence. We won't be hunted. We will hunt back. And with that, the last shred of hope flickered back to life. It was small, fragile, but it was enough to keep humanity moving forward in the face of extinction. The sky had turned red, a sickly hue that no one could ignore. The aliens were still here. But this time, the humans weren't waiting for them to strike first. The hunt had shifted. Now, humanity was preparing to hunt the hunters. The hunt begins. General Sophia Carter stood before a makeshift map projected on the wall, tracing the patterns of the alien forces. The data was sparse, but it was all they had. Earth's cities were smoldering ruins, their once proud defenses now scattered, but humanity was adapting. The alien invaders had underestimated one thing: their prey could learn. We know their movements now, Carter said, her voice sharp with focus. We know how they strike, and we can anticipate where they'll go next. We can't beat them head-on, but we don't need to. We need to make them chase us. Her officers stood in silence, their faces etched with uncertainty. The idea was daring, almost suicidal. Humanity had been battered by the invaders' initial assault, and now the tables were turning. But could they outsmart an enemy so much more advanced? One officer, Lieutenant Gray, spoke up. General, you're suggesting we bait them? Let them think we're weak, only to hit them when they're overconfident. Carter nodded. Exactly. The aliens thrive on the hunt. They enjoy the chase. They're patient, but they're also arrogant. If we show them we're still alive, still a threat, they'll come for us. And when they do, we'll be ready. The plan was risky. The alien invaders weren't just technologically superior. They were experts in tactics, able to anticipate their opponent's every move. But Carter had one thing they didn't: the unpredictability of humanity. The enemy was methodical. But humanity? Humanity could improvise. We'll use the remaining fleet to stage feints, Carter continued. We'll appear to be weak, scattered, vulnerable. The aliens will think they're picking us off one by one. But in reality, we'll be leading them into a trap. The officers exchanged uncertain looks, but Carter could see the spark of determination in their eyes. The concept was simple, but its execution would require precision. The invaders would never expect humans to fight like this, like prey becoming the predator. We'll use the urban landscapes to our advantage, Carter added, her mind running through possibilities. The invaders rely on precision strikes. They'll expect us to retreat into the wilderness or underground bunkers. But Earth's cities are still our best defense. We can stage guerrilla warfare tactics, drawing them into narrow streets and dense buildings where their technology gives them less advantage. A quiet hum filled the room as the officers processed the plan. The concept of using their own cities against the invaders was risky, but it might just work. They had to make the invaders feel like they were in control, even as they walked directly into a trap. We won't win in a conventional battle, Carter said, but we don't have to. We just need to make them believe they're the ones hunting us. We'll draw them in one strike at a time, and then we'll cut them off before they realize what's happening. Gray nodded slowly. And what about Colrex? Should we trust him? Can we count on him to help us? Carter's eyes flickered to the corner of the room, where the alien defector's last message still blinked on a monitor. It had been a gamble, trusting Colrex's intel. He had warned them before, and his words rang truer now than ever. Humanity wasn't facing an invader. They were facing predators. We'll need him, Carter said. He's been where they are. He understands their mind. If anyone can anticipate their next move, it's him. With a final glance at the map, Carter made a decision. Prepare the fleets. Begin the feints. We move out in 24 hours. The officers filed out, leaving Carter alone for a moment. The weight of what they were about to do settled heavily on her shoulders. They were taking a dangerous gamble, baiting the invaders into thinking they were nothing more than easy prey, only to spring a trap that could cost them everything. But humanity had learned something in the days since the invasion began. They weren't just fighting to survive, they were fighting to become the hunters. And if they were going to win, they would have to turn the tables completely. The hunt was on. But now, it was the invaders who were in danger of becoming the prey. Carter's mind raced through the next steps. The trap had to be perfect. One misstep, and humanity would be wiped out in a matter of hours. But if they could pull it off, if they could lure the invaders into their web of deception, Earth might just have a chance. Her resolve hardened. It was no longer about surviving. It was about making the aliens regret underestimating humanity. The trap was set. Now all they had to do was wait for the first step of the invaders to fall right into it. The calm before the storm never felt so suffocating. After weeks of carefully laid plans and calculated risks, Earth's last stand was about to begin, but the invaders were closing in faster than anticipated. And for the first time, General Sophia Carter wasn't sure they could win. The darkest hour. General Carter stood at the command center, staring at the holographic map flickering before her. The last remnants of Earth's defenses were now spread across fractured lines, vulnerable to the alien fleet that had circled the planet for days. The trap was set, but the invaders weren't following the expected patterns. "We miscalculated," Carter muttered, her hand gripping the edge of the control panel. The invaders had not fallen for the feints, not as expected. They had grown wary, hesitant, watching, waiting for a misstep. What was supposed to be a calculated game of cat and mouse was now a deadly standoff. Her officers looked at her in silence. They had followed her lead, taking risks and making bold moves. But now every sensor, every pulse from the fleet, pointed to the inevitable. The aliens weren't hunting. They were preparing to wipe them out all at once. "General, the alien fleet is moving," Lieutenant Gray said, his voice tight with urgency. "They've coordinated a massive assault. We're not just under threat anymore. We're being targeted with everything they have left." Carter's heart sank. It was happening faster than she could process. She had expected them to take their time, toy with Earth's remaining forces, but the invaders had shifted gears. Now, they were acting with lethal intent. "Status of the fleet?" Carter asked, though she already knew the answer. "Scattered," Gray replied. "The feints worked for a while, but our forces are too thin. The alien fleet has identified our weak points and is closing in. We're being boxed in from all sides. The final blow is coming." Carter stared at the map again, a sense of dread washing over her. She had thought they had one more card to play. But now, with the alien forces converging, it felt like Earth's fate was sealed. The invaders weren't interested in a drawn-out hunt anymore. They were bringing the full weight of their power to bear, eradicating anything that stood in their way. "Pull the remaining forces back to Earth's most fortified cities," Carter ordered, her voice steely. "We'll make our last stand there." As the orders were relayed, Carter turned to face the view outside the command center's windows. The sky, once filled with the remnants of Earth's resistance, was now empty. The ships that had given them hope were scattered, broken, retreating in the face of the overwhelming alien onslaught. And in that moment, the full weight of the situation hit her. They were losing. A voice broke her thoughts. It was Colrex, the alien defector who had warned them about the hunt. His transmission had been static-filled, but there was no mistaking the urgency in his words. "They have no intention of letting you live," he said, the alien's voice raspy with regret. "I warned you. They will erase everything you know. Earth survivors will be nothing more than a memory, buried under the weight of their conquest. You must understand, you cannot win this battle by fighting. You must survive it." Carter clenched her fists. His words stung, but they were also a reminder of the truth they had learned too late. The invaders didn't want Earth. They wanted the challenge, the thrill of the hunt. and they would not stop until humanity was wiped from existence. "You said you could help us," Carter snapped, her voice raw with frustration. "Then do it. What do we need to do to stop them?" There was a long pause. When Colrex finally spoke again, his voice was grim. "You cannot stop them. Not with your fleet, not with your armies. The hunt has already begun. All you can do now is escape." Escape. The word felt hollow, like a last, desperate plea. But Carter wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. She turned to Gray. "Prepare all remaining forces for final defense. We'll draw them in one last time. If we're going down, we'll make them regret underestimating us." Her officers exchanged uneasy glances but nodded, rallying behind her. They were willing to fight to the bitter end. The final confrontation was coming. Carter could feel it in the air. The invaders were closing in, and the stakes had never been higher. It was no longer about survival. It was about proving humanity would not go down quietly. "Ready the defense systems," Carter ordered. "We fight until the last man. And when they come for us, we make sure they remember one thing. We may be their prey, but we will never be forgotten." As the countdown to Earth's last stand began, Carter looked out at the sky again, this time with a sense of grim resolve. The battle ahead would be their darkest hour, but it would also be their final chance to prove that humanity, no matter the odds, would always fight back. The final battle was not the grand clash of fleets humanity had once envisioned. It wasn't a massive explosion of weapons or a sudden act of heroism. It was a quiet, brutal struggle, a struggle for survival, and a desperate gamble to turn the tables on their relentless hunters. The final hunt. General Sophia Carter stood in the heart of Earth's last defense, staring out at the alien ships hovering just beyond Earth's atmosphere. The invaders' fleet loomed like a shadow, each ship a looming predator waiting to pounce. The countdown had begun. The final stand was upon them. "We don't have much time," Carter muttered, her voice low and strained. "Prepare the last wave of defenses. It's now or never." Around her, officers scrambled to finalize the plans. The final feint had worked. They had drawn the invaders in. But now, with Earth's forces scattered and their resources nearly depleted, it was a race against time. Humanity's forces were divided. The once great fleets, now reduced to pockets of resistance. But Carter had one advantage. She had learned how to fight on the invaders' terms. "General," Lieutenant Gray's voice came through, urgent and clear. "The aliens are closing in on the city's outer perimeter. They're preparing to break through." Carter's heart raced. This was it. The invaders had followed them, each step more relentless than the last. Humanity's last stand was not a choice. It was the only option left. "We've been waiting for this moment," Carter replied, steel in her tone. "This is when we make them regret ever underestimating us." She turned toward the holographic map, studying the positions of the remaining human forces. The alien forces, now fully committed to wiping out humanity, were overconfident. They believed the hunt was near its end. They couldn't fathom that their prey had learned, adapted, and was now prepared to turn the tables. The final phase of the plan had begun. Carter's forces would use the last of their advanced tech, disguised in urban terrain, to set traps, confuse the invaders, and strike at their weak points. The goal wasn't victory. It was survival long enough to cripple the invaders, to make them realize that the humans were no longer easy prey. They would make their move now, when the aliens thought they had already won. "We're not the hunted anymore," Carter said, more to herself than anyone else. "We're the hunters." The first wave of human defenders launched their final strike, drawing the invaders deeper into the city's heart. Alien ships landed, sending out squads of soldiers, thinking they were entering the endgame. But the human forces had set a trap, one that would force the invaders to fight on a battlefield they didn't understand, a battlefield where Earth's guerrilla tactics, the unpredictability they had perfected, would give them a fighting chance. The battle erupted in the streets, and for a moment, the invaders hesitated. It wasn't the overwhelming firepower they were used to. Instead, it was confusion, ambushes from every angle, a disorienting series of attacks that made them question their superiority. Humans were everywhere and nowhere at once. striking with precision and then disappearing into the shadows. In the chaos, Carter's final tactic went into motion. Earth's forces had lured the invaders into the heart of the city, but now the final blow was coming. A trap had been set inside the city's central core, one where alien technology could be used against them. It wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense, but rather a mechanism designed to disrupt the invaders' ability to communicate, to strategize, to coordinate. As the alien leaders issued commands to their forces, they were met with static, confusion, and delay. Carter's final strike hit hard, a precise, synchronized attack on the enemy's command systems. The aliens' communication lines were severed, and their once coordinated attack began to unravel. With the invaders' fleet in disarray, Earth's remaining forces made their final stand, cutting down stragglers and taking advantage of every weakness. It wasn't a flawless victory, but it didn't need to be. What mattered was that the invaders were no longer in control. The hunt was over. Carter stood in the command center, watching as the last of the alien fleet retreated, a sense of grim satisfaction settling in. The battle had been costly, and many lives had been lost, but they had done the impossible. Earth had survived. The invaders, who once thought Earth was an easy target, had learned a lesson they would never forget. Humanity was not just a species to be hunted. They were a species that fought back. And in the end, it was the invaders who had become the hunted. Humanity had won. But the true cost of victory would echo for generations to come.